The first thing that motivated me was there's a section in the film where Buster is he's sitting on the connecting rods between the wheels and he's sort of going up and down like that. I just thought of a really nice piece of music which I could use for that, which is this. I think it takes us back to a very nostalgic time where supply and demand weren't the only issues.
Silent films were made famous by Laurel and Hardy and Charlie Chaplin in the early 20th century, but they became almost obsolete after the invention of sound. One York-based musician, Kieran White, aims to make them popular with the British public once again.
I was always a very musical child. It doesn't sound too arrogant, but I was very musical and to sing before I could talk and so on. We had a piano in the house, and I was always quite fascinated by trying to play it and so on. So I started when I was about 12, which is quite late, but I kind of fell in love with piano after a couple of years, really. Because I write a lot of comedic pieces, so I quite often take a well-known tune and do it in all sorts of different styles, like whether it's kind of style of Rachmaninoff or Chaz and Dave or whatever, you know. My grandfather's the main influence musically, and he played piano. He played just about everything. You get a tune out of a kettle. He was quite an eccentric, and I think he sort of enabled me to grasp the idea of independent thinking and making my own mind up about things, because he wasn't really afraid of what people thought about him. He was just crazy, but in a good way. And quite by chance, somebody who I know through gigging, whatever, asked me if I fancied writing a score to Buster Keaton's The General. And I thought, why not? That sounds like a really interesting idea. It changes each time I play it, really. And I find it's easier to do that than actually having a written out score. I mean, in The General, for example, it's like a train chase, and each train is represented by a particular theme. But rather than playing exactly what I've written for it, I just improvise around it until the next train comes, and then I have to put some different music to that so that people can see that they're different trains. I was asked to write a score for it and to play along live to it some time before the actual performance. I didn't actually get ready till 11 days before the actual gig. I had to try and find roughly 80 minutes of music in 11 days. In The General, they did their own stunts. There was no health and safety saying what you could and you couldn't do. People enjoy going back to a time when apples and blackberries were things you put in the pie, not in your pocket, basically.
When Kieran's not writing for silent films, he teaches piano in his spare time around the city and at York St John University.
I've taught since leaving university, really. If you've had a good education in music, it's a natural step to kind of being able to impart your information to somebody else. And there's quite a lot of demand for it.
Like, slow, whatever I was doing, and let's do the build it back up, like. But I try, yeah, like you just did. Pick up the tempo.
Initially, when I started playing, I was very kind of quite a musical snob, really. I just used to listen to classical music all the time. But since then, I've incorporated all sorts of different styles into our writing. I suppose classically, people like Bartók, Stravinsky, Scriabin, Messiaen. Jazz, very, very fond of Chick Corea, and Jan Garbarek. And, you know, I also love rock and roll as well. You know, absolutely love bands as diverse as Creedence Clearwater to Radiohead. I first met Kate at York University back in 1982. And you could say that music brought us together because she was walking towards the department with her clarinet case in her hand, and I was on a bike doing the usual sort of prattish, pretending to knock her over, but not really. Anyway, I did knock her over, and the clarinet went flying, and she's never forgiven me. So yeah, on that note, we decided to get married, really. It was a few years later, though. If you look back to these old silent films, it just takes people back to a sweeter time. A more hard-working time, definitely, but a time where people could, you know, didn't have televisions and radios and, you know, Xboxes and things like this. They had to make their own fun.
Kieran's improvisational skills are constantly being tested on radio programmes and at live shows. After only 10 minutes of viewing a clip from Charlie Chaplin's The Tramp, Kieran created a short score emphasising his skills and talent.
Music, it is my life, pretty much. You know, I'm very happily married. I enjoy the usual things like a drink and a curry. I play chess. But music, I think, is by far the most important thing. You know, it's huge. It's everything.